my message is, what if we just didn't go in and create stuff for him to fix?
The Almighty steps into the scene and intervenes and says, I'll tell you what to do.
Because sometimes your greatest enemy is not the Amalekite. It's not the Amorite. It's you. You're your worst enemy.
With all this is, no matter what state you in, continue to do what Yahweh wants you to do. No matter what state.
We must learn to trust God.
Without further ado, would you please put your blessed hands together? Welcome the man of God, Elder Scott.
Let us all stand, please. Ku et Yahweh Hamvarach. Bless Yahweh, the blessed one. All right, I'll be reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, starting at verse 19. It's going to be brief, what I'm reading. Yeah. Okay. Jeremiah, Brother Yirmiyahu. Reads as follows. And Yahweh, O Yahweh, my servant and my fortress, my refuge in the day of affliction. The Goyim shall come to you from the ends of the earth and say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, worthlessness and unprofitable things. Will a man make Elohims for himself, which are not Elohims? Therefore, behold, he will this once cause them to know. He will cause them to know his hand and his might, and they shall know his name is Yahweh. Amen. Y'all may be seated. All right. All right. Bhikkhu Kotai in his statutes. There. My theme for the day is Togi. Now, what I wanted to do with this particular teaching here is I want to look at the Torah portion, how it blends in with the Haftorah, and I want to tie it in with life today, how we are approaching religion there. And under that thing, I gave you an acronym that we call Togi. Now, this Togi, that was something that was put together by my teacher, many years of study, and we're looking at the Torah. We came up with this terminology called Togi. Why? Because that's a big breakdown. When you look at religion, everyone is sincere, yet everyone has their own perspective. That's the thing. And even when you cross over into this perspective where you're here today, as far as the Sabbath movement, people will think that we are just like First Day, but we're not. You want to think that we are. I understand that. But we're not. Togi means, is an acronym, 4 letters. T, Torah, the O is for observance, Torah observance. G is for Gentile, or Goyim, Gentile inclusive. I, Israeli centric. Okay? Torah observant, Gentile inclusive, Israel centric, if you will. Now, we'll talk about that. Let's get with the Torah. Here's Jeremiah here. There, the Almighty just made a statement to Jeremiah, and Jeremiah said, "Oh Yahweh, my strength, my fortress, my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come to know you from the ends of the earth." Why? Because they're going to say, surely our fathers have inherited what? Lies. Oh my God, I've been there. Huh? Worthlessness and unprofitable things. Will a man make deities for himself? Yes, he does. Huh? Why I'm saying that, I remember many years ago, y'all look at me, when someone walked up to me and said, hey man, you need to turn away from that deity you've been taught to serve and serve the true God named Yahweh and his son Yahshua. And I said, what are you saying? He said, man, if you're saying the other name, you're calling on a pagan deity. surprised that people will fight you if you say that. However, I'm just going to give it to you straight. All right? Now, that being said, how did we get here in Jeremiah? Let me give you the text. Now, if you look at Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 13 of chapter 16, look what these words says. This is how it connects to the Torah portion. It says, therefore I will cast you out of the land into the land that you do not know. Neither you nor your fathers, and there you shall serve other gods day and night, where he will not show you favor. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, saith Yahweh, that it shall be no more said, Yahweh lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, but Yahweh lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, talking about Babylon, and from all the lands where he had driven them, for he will bring them back into their land which he gave their fathers. Went out. Now, do y'all see that? Now, wait a minute. There we go. How does this connect to the Torah? Everyone turn quickly to the book of Leviticus there, chapter 26. I'm going to show you the hook here, as they would say. Why the rabbis say this passage go with this. All right? Leviticus 26, our Torah portion, Biku Kotai. All right? Now, Leviticus 26, are you there? I hear pages flickering. All right? Did we make it there? You should be there by now. Leviticus 26. Now, verse 3, this is where the Torah portion actually starts. It says, if you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and perform them, quote unquote, I've been taught this is a contingence where the Almighty says, if you do this, then he will what? Do that. That is the wrong way to teach this Torah portion. All right? That is taken out of context, but that's the way I was taught it. But I want you guys to see that. If you walk in his statutes and keep his commandments and perform them, look what it says. Then he will give you rain in the season. The land shall yield produce. The trees of the field shall yield their fruit. Your thrashing shall last till what? Vintage, and the vintage shall last till time of sowing, and you shall eat bread to the full and dwell in your land what? Safely. Now, y'all see that? This whole passage is about blessings. It's about prosperity. Yahweh says, if you walk in his statutes, then you ain't got to worry about a thing. Now, that's prosperity now in the Bible. Look what he says. Now, when it says rain, they were what? It was an aggregate culture. Agriculture. So farmers need what? Rain. Rain meant everything. No rain, no crops. Well, Yahweh says he controls the rain. If you're obedient, you're going to get all the water you need. You don't even need an irrigation system. He's going to do it just for you. And he says your vintage or your harvest is going to be so plentiful, it's going to overflow into your next harvest. And in our world, we call that surplus. All right? That's called surplus. Now, do you see that? Now, here's the problem. Now, he says, only if you what? Keep his commandments, his statutes, right? Then we got a problem. It gets a little rough. But if you do not obey his voice and observe all his commandments, and if you despise his statutes and your soul abhors his judgments, so that you do not perform all the commandments but break his covenant, then he says, he will also do this to you. Oh my goodness. Did y'all see it? It's getting rough. Right? It's getting really bad. Now skim down to verse 23. He said, however, now, and if by these things you are not reformed by him, but walk contrary to him. What he's saying is, after these bad things have come upon you, and if that doesn't reform you, oh my goodness, it's going to get what? It's going to get worse. Do y'all see that now? Now, verse 27. Look down to verse 27. And he says, and after all this, if you do not obey me, but walk contrary to me, then also I will what? Walk contrary what? To you in fury. And he will what? Chastise you 7 times for your sin. Life is getting what? Rough. Why so severe? Because we are hard-headed people. Y'all remember that? Well, not you. I'm sorry. I remember my parents and my grandparents said, boy, you're not going to change until you feel the fire. And some of us are like that. You ever know that? We hear it, but we don't get it till we what? Feel the fire. And unfortunate for some of us, the fire sometimes is what? Behind that wall called jail. For some of us, is in that hog pen. Right? Like that prodigal son. See, for some of us, it's called what? Rock bottom. That's the only way we're going to get it. But this is what the Almighty is saying to Israel. If you don't get it, it's only going to what? Get worse. Now, but here's the tie-in. Now, look at verse 33. But if it still does not transform you, then this is the ultimate. Verse 33. Then he will scatter you among the nations and draw the sword after you. Your land shall be desolate and your cities waste. That was the ultimate punishment for our forefathers or the children of Israel. Through their persistent rebellion. Through their persistence of disobeying the Almighty and not adhering to the prophets. The ultimate punishment was they were spewed out of the land into the hands of their oppressor. And from that day to this day, we have yet to return. Did y'all hear me? That's setting the stage. We have yet what? To return. Now, do you see that in the text? Now turn back to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 16. This is exactly what had taken place in Jeremiah hundreds of years later. The prophet had constantly warned Israel of her what? Wicked ways, and she what? Refused to repent and return to the Almighty, and guess what happened? The Almighty says in verse 13 of chapter 16 of Jeremiah, therefore he will cast you where? Out of this land into the land that you do not know, neither is your fathers, nor there you shall serve what? Gods day and night. That's where this Torah portion connects to this what? Prophet portion. Israel was now being cast out of the land because of her persistence, what? Waywardness. And the enemy of the north, who is what? Babylon, came in and seized all of Israel and took them back into what? Captivity. That's the Torah portion. Yet, Jeremiah does this. Jeremiah, when he heard it, he says this, but he started praising the Almighty. He said, "O Yahweh, my strength, my fortress, my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth, and surely say of our fathers have what? Inherited lies, worthlessness, unprofitable things. Will a man make gods? Yes, he would. Make Elohim, yes, therefore. Yahweh says, I will once cause them to what? Know, and cause them to know what? His hand and his might, and they shall know what? His name. Now, what's that? Why would Jeremiah put that there? That's the question. Well, also in Leviticus 44, chapter 26, it says this. Yahweh says, yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, he says, I will not cast them away, nor shall I abhor them to utterly what? Destroy them and break my covenant with them, for he is Yahweh their God. Then he says, 45, but for their sake, he will remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom he brought out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that he might be their Elohim. He is Yahweh. Now, let me give you a key point. The whole intent of these severe punishments was to cause Israel to repent of her behavior and to come back to their Elohim. That was the whole point. Yahweh is not in the destroying business. He's in the business of what? Bringing his people back. The punishments only became more severe that through severity they would what? Wake up. And you ever notice with our people is only when they're going through something that they are the most closest to their God then? It's only when they're going through. It's not when life is grand and splendid. It's only when what? They're going through. And unfortunately, some of us need to go through what? A long time. Because that's the only way it's going to keep us on the what? The straight and the narrow. That was the whole point right there. However, here's the key point now. He says, but even then, he's not going to utterly what? Destroy them. Because why? He made a covenant with their forefathers. Oh my. Isn't that something? Right? Now that being said, let me show you how that connects now with this concept of Togi. I must hasten on. Oh, we're doing pretty good here. Now, that being said, let me show you the Togi message now, because when he says that in Jeremiah 13, that's the gospel message for each and every one of us right there. Let me read it to you again there. Verse 19. O Yahweh, my strength, my fortress, my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth, and shall surely say, our fathers have what? Inherited lives. How is that the gospel message? The gospel message is what? That Yahweh sent his son to what? To redeem mankind. That's the gospel message. See it right here, even in the prophets. The prophets is proclaiming that Yahweh is going to restore Israel. And in the process of restoring Israel, he's going to rescue the Gentiles at the same time. That's all of mankind. He's going to rescue who? Israel, because of the promise and the covenant. And through Israel, the Gentiles going to come to know who Yahweh is. Every time you read the story, Yahweh says, even in the Egyptian story, he says, when I deliver Israel, then the Egyptians will know who he is. And when he delivered them out of Egypt as they were walking through the wilderness, all the other nations says, we heard what your God done to what? Pharaoh down there in Egypt. They came to know who the Almighty was by what? Israel's experience. Did y'all hear that now? That's how we come to know. And they're saying here that when Yahweh delivered Israel from Babylon, then these nations will know who their God is. Oh my. Did y'all see that now? So it's because of Israel, mankind knows what he knows. And what? Who he knows. How about that? About one deity and mankind knows another, there's a problem. How about that? Y'all see that now? Now, that being said, let's talk about Togi. All right? Let's talk about Togi. I'll be as brief as I can. Togi, Torah observant, Gentile inclusive, Israel centric. Here's the thing we know for certain. All of us, regardless of what faith we're in, should have one thing in common, and that is Torah. Or try the word Tanakh. That's another acronym there. In Exodus chapter 19, starting at verse 3, this is what Yahweh said to Moses. And Moses went up to Yahweh, and Yahweh called unto Moses out of the mountain, and says, thus shall you say to the house of Israel, or to Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what he did to the Egyptians, and how he bare them on eagle wings, and how he brought the children of Israel unto himself. Now, therefore, if you obey his voice, indeed, and keep his covenant, then you shall be what? A peculiar treasure, a segugilah in Hebrew, unto me above all people. For all the earth is mine, and you shall be unto him a kingdom of what? Priests, and a holy nation. These are the words you shall speak unto the children, what? Of Israel. Now, why I'm reading that? Because this is the introduction in Exodus 19 that leads us into Exodus 20, which is the giving of the commandments. Exodus 20, where you read the 10 commandments, we quote here every Shabbat. However, the tradition says Yahweh was given more commandments that day than just the 10. Because if you read it very carefully, it says, as Yahweh was speaking, it says, it was so powerful, the earth shake, and there was an earthquake, and there was a volcanic reaction there, and the people began to tremble there, and they cried out to Moses. Now, how Moses heard them that day, I really don't know. Because the text says Moses really was in the mountain with the Almighty, and they were at the base. But the text says the people cried out, Moses, tell Yahweh to stop talking. Because if he keep talking, we shall surely, what? Y'all fill in the blank. Y'all know that by heart. Y'all did good. I'll give you 1 point for that. All right. All right. Oh, I didn't get an amen. You just lost that point. Yeah. All right. That being said, right? They said, if you keep talking, we shall surely die. He gave them all the commandments, but they cut him short. They were rude. Now, what's my point? The commandments are Yahweh's constitution for his people. Did y'all hear me? The commandments are Yahweh's constitution for his people. Constitution, let me help you. Constitution simply means a body of fundamental principles or established precedents according to which a state or other organization is acknowledged to be governed. This is how Yahweh's people are expected to live and to what? Govern themselves. By their constitution. What's their constitution? The commandments. Let's try that again. What is Yahweh's constitution? What happens if you don't want to live according to the constitution? We got a problem. You got to be punished. Huh? What good is people who don't want to keep the constitution? Huh? What good is it to have people move into Yahweh's kingdom who doesn't want to keep his constitution, but of grace? Grace, I've tried to make it very simple. Grace says you violated the law. Yahweh interceded and forgave you for breaking the law, but now he's telling you now, go back and keep what? Get it together. It's no different than our judicial system, right? I always use that something simple like you get a speeding violation. You are guilty. And when I get them, I'm guilty. But as age crept in, I ain't like what I used to. When I used to go home, visit my parents, I'd be going down 95, wide open. I make it happen. Y'all act like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. And with these new riding vehicles, you don't know you're traveling 80. Till you see that light behind you, you're like, oh! I didn't know I was going that fast. I was making it happen. You hear me? And then I say, but officer, I was with, what about the mother car? He got you. Now, here's the point. You broke the law. Now, if you go to court, which I always tell you go to court, if the judge say, okay, what we got there, probation before judgment in Maryland. What he's saying here is you're guilty, but because of the authority that he is given, right, he's going to say, I'm going to overlook your discretion. You just paid my court fee and get out of here, but then he'll say this, but I don't want to see you back in here. Right? Well, that's what Yahweh said to the children of Israel. You broke his commandments, but it doesn't mean I'm going to get rid of the commandments just to get you guys straight. No, sir. No, it don't work that way. I'm going to put you through till you get it straight, and then I'm going to bring you right back in. We're right back to square one. That's what the grace is saying. You don't have to pay the penalty, what? In full, but you are expected to get it straight. But when your grace is saying, because of something that God did, he removed his own law, then you're no longer Torah observant. Now, if you don't think they were zealous for Torah observance, look in the New Covenant, Acts 21:20. He says, and when they heard it, they glorified Yahweh. And they said to him, they were talking to Paul, you see, brother, how many myriads of Jews there are who have believed, and they are all zealous for the Torah. Yeah. The New Covenant believers were Torah observant. And then he says, but they have been informed about you, brother Paul, or Shaul, that you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children nor walk in according to the customs. What then? The assembly must certainly meet, for they will hear that you have come. And guess what they told that brother to do? To show that he was Torah compliant. He said, we got some brothers over here that's taking a vow. Matter of fact, you take that vow with them, and you even pay the expenses of the vow. To show these people that you're still what? Torah observant. Torah observant means what? Commandment observant. Did y'all hear me? All right, my next one, Gentile inclusive, because you got this thing going around where it's Israel and Israel alone, and Gentiles are not a part of this big party. I think we missed it. In Jeremiah 16:19, I read to you in your earlier, it says, the Gentiles shall come to you from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have what? Inherited lies, worthlessness, unprofitable things. Therefore, behold, he says, I will once cause them to know his name. Let me show you examples through the Tanakh where even the sages saw Gentiles coming into the faith. 1 Kings chapter 8, verse 41. This is where Solomon was dedicating the temple in his prayer. Solomon says this, moreover, containing the strangers that is not of thy people Israel. These are Gentiles, but come out of the far country for their name's sake. For they shall hear of your great name, and of thy strong hand, and of thy outstretched arm. And it says, when he, or that stranger, shall come and pray toward what? This temple, or this house? Guess what he asks of Yahweh? He said, Yahweh, then hear you in heaven, thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger is praying for. The stranger was invited to come to Yahweh's temple. Why? He says that all people of the earth may know what? Your name. And to fear you. Did you hear me now? Now, I give the sacred namers credit there. That's part of the problem. When you start talking Yahweh, people get shifty. They get shaky. The sacred namers get hysterical because to them there's no other name. It got to be Yahweh and Yahweh only. You say Lord, Adonai, Jesus, anything, they think you just committed heresy. They want to run you out the building. But we thank the Almighty for Israel. Without Israel, we shall not what? Know his name. Or how about Isaiah 56? It says, neither let the son of the stranger that has joined himself to Yahweh's people, saying, behold, I am utterly separated from Yahweh's people. Neither let the eunuch say, behold, I'm a dry tree. For thus saith Yahweh unto the eunuch that keep what? His Sabbath, and choose the things that please Yahweh, and take hold of his covenant, even unto them. Yahweh said he would give in his house and within his walls a place, a name better than sons and daughters. The Gentile was invited to come where? In with Israel. Y'all act like y'all don't know. New covenant, because we got people here now. Well, I ain't reading nothing from New Testament. New Testament, Ephesians 2. It says, wherefore remember. Now, this talking to Gentiles. Let me tell you how Paul dropping in on it. He said, that you being in times past Gentiles in the flesh. That means you had no Torah knowledge. That means you were unclean. And you did all kind of unseemingly things. Who are called uncircumcised by that which is the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. He says that at that time you were without who? The Messiah. Yes. I don't know where you're getting that from. You had to get it from Israel. He said, you were without the Messiah. You were aliens from the commonwealth. That means you were not citizens of Israel, and you were strangers from the covenants of promise, and you having no hope, and you were without God in this world. It sounded like they were in a horrible state of being at that time. But now in the Messiah, Yahshua, you whom sometimes were afar off are now made near by the blood of the Messiah. For he is our peace. He has made both one and has broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances, for to make in himself of twine one new man. Did y'all hear that? Strangers were brought into the fold of Israel. They were once afar off, but the Messiah, because of his finished work, has now what? Brought them in. But I'm conflicted in my thinking because a lot of y'all want to tell me, because what Christ did, he removed those laws. Didn't it say those laws contained in ordinances? Yes. Y'all looking at me. Did y'all see that in the text? Yes. I'm getting frustrated here. Did y'all see that in the text? I'm going to do it. No, I can't say that. I can't do that to my brother. Yeah, I need to read it. Hey, Colossians 2. That's what popped in mind. 2:14. Let me give you a quick lesson. I'm just about, I'm done. All right, now I'm going to give you this, and I'm sitting there. All right. Colossians 2:14. They use this to beat up on us anyway. And it says, and you being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of flesh, he made alive together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, having wiped out the handwriting of requirements that was against us, which was contrary to us, and he has taken it out of the way. How? By nailing it to the cross. Do y'all see that? We were taught that in nursery school, right? What was written against us, Christ came and took it and nailed it to the stake and took it out the way. Now, a lot of people, when they read that, we're taught that was God's command. How far from the truth that is. That's the biggest lie ever told. You've been bamboozled, buffooned, right? Buffoon, if you believe that. You don't think so? I told you I'm going to say it and wrap it up. Whether you fail to realize is, all scholars would tell you, what they would normally do in their day before they would execute someone, they will take their rap sheet and nail it up publicly so the people can see why this person is being executed. Do you understand what I'm saying? When a criminal committed a crime, before he was executed, they took his crime that he was accused of, they would write it on a piece of paper and hang it up publicly so people as they walk by can see why this criminal was executed. Do y'all hear me now? Turn to Matthew 27. You act like you don't know. You should have been there. All right, Matthew 27:37. Now, I'll leave at verse 36. Matthew 27, verse 36. Sitting down, they kept watch over him there. Meaning, this is Yahshua hanging on the execution stake. And the soldiers were there watching him as he was dying. And then it says, verse 7, and they put over his head the accusation written, what? Against him. They were writing over his head why he was being what? Executed. And look what he was being executed. This is Yahshua, the King of the Jews. That's his accusation. Y'all missing it. Yahshua was executed for sedition. He came up saying that he was the king. Y'all still ain't getting it. Caesar said, you done missed it, boy. I'm only big dog around here. And there's no other big dogs than me. Now, who do you say you are? Good enough? Put him on the tree. I'm not trying to make light of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why he was executed. He said he was the king. And we cannot have what? Two kings. Now, that being said, the accusation that was written against us was not the Torah. The accusation was our violations of the Torah. And what Joshua took out of the way was not the Torah. He took away what? Our violations. Now, it wasn't that hard, now was it? Huh? All right, let us wrap this up. Israel-centric. We just read it. Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, behold, days coming, saith Yahweh, that he shall no more say it. What? That brought the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but we're going to talk about the Elohim that brought them out of the land of Babylon. Matthew 10:5. These 12 Joshua sent forth and commanded them, saying, go into the way of the Goyims, and into any city of Samaria enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is Israel-centric. Joshua says what? Go to the lost sheep of Israel and tell them what? The kingdom of heaven, what? Is at hand. What's that kingdom? That kingdom is our restoration from being dispersed among the nations. That's what the restoration is. You read it in Jeremiah, right? It says even when Joshua had died and resurrected and he appeared to the apostles, Acts 1:6, and when they came together, they asked him, he says, and when they therefore were come together, they asked Joshua, saying, Master, will you at this time restore the kingdom of what? Israel. Israel-centric. Is Israel not restored? Nobody will not be restored. Is Israel not saved? Nobody will be saved. The entire Bible from cover to cover is about God's people. Israel. Romans 11:13. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle to the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If I by any means I may provoke to emulations, to jealousy, them which are of my flesh, that they may what? Save some of them. For if the casting away be to the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? But life from the dead, a resurrection. For if the first fruit be holy, and the lump is holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. And if some of the branches were what? Broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, he's talking about Gentiles now, were grafted in among them, with them partakers of the root and the fatness of the olive tree. The idea here, what was they grafted into? They were grafted into Israel. It is Israeli-centric. I can give you a lot more. It is Israel-centric. Torah observant, Gentile inclusive, Israel what? Centric. My close. I got to close. That's what the entire Bible is about. The whole narrative. Here's God has a people. He make promises to their forefather. And from their forefathers, from one generation to the next, he periodically intervenes in their life and what? Reiterates that covenant that he made with their past forefathers. And then he reaches out and calls them back and say, hey, remember what your dads were doing? You need to come back. Even the prophets would warn them, you guys are worshiping gods that even your forefathers knew nothing about. That's how far off you guys are. Now, where we are today, we done missed it. We're so into getting rich and wealthy and prosperity, and God is blessing everybody, getting your kids out of jail, getting you a new job, helping you get a car, help you get a house, help you get clothes, help you get your life together. You done missed the gospel message, because the gospel ain't about none of that crap. The gospel message is about you getting your life together, because the Messiah may crack the sky in the very next moment. And if you ain't got your life together, you're going to hell. That's the gospel message, but you won't pack churches talking like that. Isn't that strange? I can't get my husband to act right. I can't get my wife to act right. Preaching what I do. Only thing I can tell you is pray. What can you do to help them out? I'm not a guidance counselor. I got enough problems of my own. All right? I can't give you no magical words what to tell that young man to get his life together. I can't give you no magic words what to tell your daughter. Because if I had a daughter, y'all be praying for me. I'd be in jail right now because I don't like what I see. You touch my daughter and she walk out the house like that, I just went to jail. I'll be on 6 o'clock news. Here it is. Minister slaps his daughter there. And while he's standing in front of the camera, he slaps her again. Because I ain't putting up with that. Y'all done missed something here. You think I'm going to let my daughter walk out the house like a hoochie mama? Yes, all right? I don't want to hear nothing about style. All right? All right? Oh, y'all think it's funny. All right. I ain't no guidance counselor. I can't help you out. Come on, Pastor. They ask me all the time, Scott, I want to tell you. I'll tell you. I don't want to know. They say, come on, Scott, help me. Man, I don't want to know. I'm no relationship guy. It never works. You all right? Because people do what people do. And you can pray until the sky is blue. They ain't going to change till they want to change. All right? And I always tell people what you see is what you get. And if you think he changed or she changed, they were like that before you married him. So guess what our cop-out is? Don't get married, we just live together. We play house, but we just don't make it legal. God, it got quiet. It's so quiet. I mean, it just went, hey, wow.
Gotta get right.
People, I'm just giving it to you straight to help you out. Get your life together. It's in the Torah. The Torah is all that you need. It is the beginning, and what? It is the end. Yes, sir. Right? Now, y'all know how Thomas always got to come in here and sing a song. Don't he get you with that? If I didn't know anything about it, that brother's trying to compete with me. You got to cut that out. All right. I'm just teasing. I love the brother. Hey, here's one for you in closing. Get right with God and do it now. Get right with God and he will show you how. Down at the cross where he shed his blood. Get right with God. Get right with God. See?
Good job, son. Good job.
Let us bow our heads there, please. Eternal Father Yahweh, we do give you thanks. We give you thanks for your Torah portion. We give you thanks for your unending mercy. Father, we see how you reached out to your people, and your punishments were only there to bring them back to your unending love. Father, may your people here be strengthened by that, and may it be encouraged, Father, to walk therein. And as it says through your prophet, may all the nations as you deliver Israel, come to know who you are, the true living sustainer of all. This we ask in the name of your Son, the Mashiach. Amen. Y'all let us stand there, please. Let me have the benediction here. Or our blessing, as is found in the book of Numbers, chapter